The CAYPINS system. What about fines for young people under the age of 18? If a fine is issued to a person for something they did when they were under the age of 18, they can still apply for an internal review under the same circumstances that we've discussed before. That is, they can apply for an internal review based on their special circumstances or exceptional circumstances. However, if these infringements are left unpaid, they then go through a different system that's known as CAYPINS. CAYPINS stands for the Children and Young Persons Infringements Notice System. If an agency refers a fine to CAYPINS, the young person will get a notice telling them that they have to go to the Children's Court on a certain date and see a registrar. At this point, the young person's options are 1. To pay the fine before that date, 2. Apply for a payment plan and more time to pay, and again, if they happen to be in receipt of Centrelink, they can apply for a centre pay arrangement. Or they can apply for an order saying that they don't have to pay, which is an order not to enforce their fines. If a young person wants to apply for an order that they don't have to pay or apply for the fine to be reduced, they can make that application to the CAYPINS registrar on the day of the hearing. The registrar can then either make an order that they don't have to pay the fine, reduce the fine, or confirm that the fine has to be paid in the full amount. If the young person does nothing, the registrar may decide the full amount must be paid, and if it goes unpaid, a magistrate may eventually issue a warrant to seize property from the young person to pay the fine. If the young person goes before the CAYPINS registrar and doesn't like the decision, they can apply for a review before a magistrate, and the magistrate has the same options to order the fine doesn't have to be paid, reduce the fine, or order the full amount does have to be paid. If a young person wants to apply for a reduction of the fine, or if they don't want to pay for the fines at all, they should attend the Children's Court so they can have a hearing with the registrar. In reality, this isn't actually a hearing where you have to appear before a magistrate. It's really a conversation that you have with the registrar, who's a person who works from the court and who will be at the counter. They'll have a chat to you about what your circumstances are, and they need to take into account your financial circumstances, so that means whether or not you can afford to pay the fine and whether or not you have any other personal circumstances. It's a good idea if the young person has a support letter from a worker that can confirm the young person's situation. Once a registrar has considered all the information, they can then decide to do one of three things. One is to confirm that you pay the fine in full, they can reduce the fine, or they can decide not to enforce the fine at all. If the young person goes before a CAYPINS registrar and doesn't like the decision, they can apply for a review before a magistrate within 28 days. The magistrate can either order the fine doesn't have to be paid, reduce the fine, or order the full amount does have to be paid. If the magistrate orders payment of a fine and it goes unpaid, then the court may issue a warrant to seize property from the young person. Court fines. What if the young person has a court fine handed down by a magistrate as a sentence in the Magistrates Court or the Children's Court? Remember, court fines are different from infringement notices. A magistrate or a judge can impose a fine as a penalty for a criminal offence in either the Children's Court or the Magistrates Court. Magistrate court fines can be paid at any venue of that court around Victoria. Before the fine is due, a person can apply for more time to pay or to pay by instalments. Unfortunately, you cannot use centre pay as an option to pay for your court-based fines. They can also apply to convert the fine to community work at a rate of 0.2 penalty units per hour under a community corrections order. If the due date for the fine passes, those options are no longer available, and after 28 days, the court will issue a warrant for a sheriff's officer to come and arrest the person and bring them back to court. They will be brought before a magistrate who can then convert the fine to work hours under a community corrections order, make or vary an instalment order, adjourn for 6 months, issue a warrant to seize property, or jail the person for 1 day for each penalty unit owing. A person can ask for a children's court fine to be paid by instalments before the due date, but if the due date passes, then a magistrate may, after 28 days, order that the fine should not be enforced, adjourn for 6 months, or issue a warrant to seize property. What if you don't know what type of fine a young person has or what stage it's up to? It can be difficult to figure out what type of fine a young person has or what stage it's up to if they lose their paperwork or if they don't receive or open their mail. If a fine is in its initial stages, it is best to contact the issuing agency directly to confirm the details of the fine, or if it's a police fine, you can contact Civic Compliance. You can contact Civic Compliance for any unpaid fines at the enforcement stage lodged at the Infringements Court or beyond that stage to become warrants. Civic Compliance can provide a summary of unpaid fines, and this summary states what type of fine a person has, including court fines, and what stage that fine is up to. You can contact Civic Compliance online, by phone or in writing. To recap, we hope that this session has given you an understanding of the difference between court fines and fines issued as infringement notices, the different stages unpaid infringement notice fines go through, the options young people have at each stage, such as the internal review and applications to revoke on special circumstances, what happens when infringement warrants are issued and the sheriff takes action, the CAYPINS system and how it applies to young people under the age of 18, and options for paying court fines and what happens if court fines are not paid on time. If you would like more information, then please check out the Youth Law website at www.youthlaw.asn.au. We also recommend A Worker's Guide to Fines, which is published by Victoria Legal Aid and available through www.legalaid.vic.gov.au. You can also contact Youth Law by calling us on 96112412, or you can send us an email to info@youthlaw.asn.au. Youth Law would like to thank the Victoria Law Foundation for making this video series possible. Goodbye and good luck with navigating through the fine system.